event or Saturday night's predictable event? Because that's pretty much what the whole show is about. It's your boy Icon going over the wrestling, another wrestling review for you. And I had a lot of technical difficulties earlier where I filmed my review for Saturday Night's Main Event in the normal fashion in which I did it. And then when I uploaded everything to the computer, I realized that I have a short in my microphone wire, which means not all the audio for the entire review went in. It's like some pieces went in, some pieces fell out. I'm going to fill in the pieces here, and then I'm going to go back to the stuff that I actually did because I'm not doing the whole thing over again. So, so as your boy Icon always, with another review for you. And speaking of technical difficulties, was I the only one who watched it on NBC? And when the show started, the commentators were talking in English and the Spanish commentators were talking in the background. I found that very annoying, and then I switched to Peacock. But let's get started and go over the wrestling as we kick things off with Saturday night's main event. So the first match, surprisingly, was for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. It was Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. Nia got booed out of the building as always because we were in good old San Antonio, Texas, and Rhea Ripley came in, which was cool. Nice to see Rhea Ripley. Again, I was surprised that this match did start the show, but it is what it is. And
Rhea Ripley's ring gear these days has her looking exactly like China. The ninth wonder of the world, and nothing wrong with that either. Definitely don't have a problem with that. And they did do a good job in the match of like showing off like Nia's power, struggling, and she was having a hard time getting victory. But in the end, she hit the riptide. It wasn't a full blown riptide, but to see her get Nia off her feet the way she did, that in itself was cool enough. And then she planted her on the floor, got her down, and then she got the 1, 2, 3 victory, and that was pretty much it. So Rhea Ripley retains, and she's moving on. So she's not going to compete at the Royal Rumble, obviously, because she just competed here. So I feel like a lot of the champions that aren't going to be at the Royal Rumble, like if you're a champion, because we're already having 2 Royal Rumble matches, so you can't have like 7 title matches in between. So between Raw, Saturday night's main event, SmackDown, and the Royal Rumble, they're going to split up all these championship matches. Because I think like some of the tag team matches are happening on SmackDown, like SmackDown as well. Because like I said, they don't want to oversaturate the pay-per-view. But at this point, because Bayley's already on Raw, Damian Priest and The Miz, they were officially on SmackDown along with Braun Strowman. And again, so if Rhea's the women's world heavyweight champion, I'm going to assume Nia is going to stay on SmackDown now because she has the Tiffany Stratton beef, and also, like, why would you bring her to Raw so she could challenge Rhea Ripley when she already lost to Rhea Ripley when she wasn't a member of Raw? But I am going to say this, though. They need to beef up that SmackDown division because SmackDown has always been the brand to get the lesser amount of talent. Because Raw was always a 3-hour show, SmackDown was a 2-hour show, so they always gave Raw more people, which I always thought was bullshit because Raw would get more, like, let's say like SmackDown would get 30 people, Raw would get 50 people, and then 20 of those people they didn't even use. So I'm like, why would you not just filter out at least 10 of those people to SmackDown so you could have more people on SmackDown? Because even the women's like United States Championship scene, there's only 4 people in it. It's just Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Michin, and B-Fab. Like, you're not going to insert Blair Davenport into the mix because the champion is a heel. We're not going to do heel versus heel. So I'm looking for the Royal Rumble to add some more NXT girls like to this roster because nobody from Raw transferred over to SmackDown. So I'm like, SmackDown still getting the strong. Anyway, so that was it. Rhea Ripley still reigns supreme, and we're moving on to the next match for the Intercontinental Championship. And this was a good match. It was Bronathan Breaker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship. And I'm sick of hearing about how Sheamus has never won the Intercontinental Championship. I wish they just give him the damn belt already so I don't got to hear about this anymore. And of course, as you can imagine, this was a slobber knocker to say the least. It wasn't as fast paced at times as I thought it would be. They did a really cool spot where they were both on the outside and Sheamus jumped off the steps for an axe handle. And then Braun Breaker caught him with a hell of a spear. The spear that Braun hit him with on the floor looked better than the one he hit him with in the ring. Because the one he hit him with the ring, it kind of looked like the torpedo Moscow that Ilya Dragunov does. But and God bless Jesse the Body Ventura because he was poking holes throughout, like the entire, because Jesse was on commentary for the IC match because he said that they always put Jesse out there for the heavyweight title match, but he said that the match he wanted to see was the IC title match, so I guess they put him on commentary for that because that's the match that they really liked. There was a moment where the referee counted a 1 and a 2, and then when the referee went for 3,
I guess like Braun didn't kick out when he was supposed to, so the referee kind of like held the hand up a little bit longer before he counted the three. And then Jesse the Body Ventura was like, "Oh, the ref's cheating. That was a slow count. He held up the count." And then there was a moment where Braun Breaker's foot was on the rope, and then when Braun put his foot on the rope, Jesse was like, "There's no way the referee could have seen that." And I was just like, "Damn, son, like you spilling the beans." But after he hit him with the spear, it was basically like 1, 2, 3, and it's Braun Breaker wins the match, and for me, it's not that I feel like Braun Breaker is having a bad IC title run. It's more so there's no one for him to fight because the Intercontinental title scene for Raw, it's not stacked. Like there's nobody in it. So there's and then anybody that he could fight, they're all going for like heavyweight gold or they're like personal feud. So there's really no one for Braun Breaker to actually go after. So because of that, he's just been like backstage and sitting around doing nothing. And and that's not, then it makes people feel like, oh, he's not doing anything. Like, no, like even with Chelsea Green, it's like, who's Chelsea Green gonna fight? Like the women's United States Championship division, it's just her, Michin, and BFAB. So until we get some call ups, some NXT call ups to fill up these rosters, which is why I'm not a fan of Raw always getting more draft picks than SmackDown, because then it leaves SmackDown with not enough people. But we got Damian Priest on SmackDown now. We got The Miz. We got Bailey on Raw. No women have come over, but hopefully the Rumble will fix that, and we'll get some more people as we move on to the next one. Then after that, we basically got the contract signing. It was the contract signing between young Codith, Cody Rhodes, and Kevin Owens, and Shawn Michaels was in the ring. And my whole thing is, it's like, yes, I like seeing HBK. Like, it's good to see HBK, but if you're gonna try to sell the fans that Kevin Owens has a legitimate shot of actually winning, like the WWE Championship, having Shawn Michaels super kick him and knock him out of the ring was a very bad way of doing it. Because now it just comes across as, well, he's clearly not going to win now because he just was made to look like a complete fool. And you're not going to have him look like a fool and then he's going to get in the ring and like beat Cody Rhodes. And so it's like, now it's like, yeah, kind of like ruined that match for me. But it's not like anybody expected Kevin Owens to win the belt anyway, but it's like you shouldn't just make it that obvious. I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, like Shawn Michaels got the contract signed. The people of San Antonio got to see the Heartbreak Kid, and that was pretty much it. And so then after that was Braun Strowman versus Jacob Fatu, and Jacob Fatu, he getting a little hood with it. Like they're letting him talk now. I don't know where Solo Sokoa is. I don't know what happened to Solo, but they're letting Jacob Fatu talk like he's going to be the new leader of the Bloodline 3.0. And he went out there with Braun Strowman. And for Braun Strowman to talk all that shit about how he's the monster among men, this and the third, they had Jacob Fatu whoop that ass. And he bum rushed him in the corner like 6, 7, 13, 12 times. He bum rushed him to the point where he kind of like got knocked unconscious and blood started coming out of his mouth. And then you would think after that, they'd be like, wow, Jacob Fatu put down the monster among men, Braun Strowman. No, he proceeded to go into true Bronson Reed form, and he went off the top rope like 3 or 5 times, I forget the number, and he hit the moonsault splash on Braun Strowman. And for the love of God, I just wanted to hear Wade Barrett one time go, tsunami, because of the way he was doing it. But like that was it was. I mean, it was very impressive to see. Braun Strowman ended up winning the match by disqualification, but now Jacob Fatu is like he's this big threat because he took down Braun Strowman. And I feel like because of how he was presented in this match, they're setting it up to where it's going to be Jacob Fatu versus Roman Reigns now. I think that's going to be the match now because they're painting this guy as like, the Samoan werewolf, like this unstoppable beast, and only like Roman Reigns can take him down. So I said, yeah, but no, it was, I mean, it wasn't even really a match, but it was just a good way to showcase Jacob Fatu. And I look forward to seeing the build as he fights Roman Reigns on the road to WrestleMania.
And the final match of the night, which was no surprise to anybody. And I like this 5-match format. I like the whole thing about it reminds me of like old school NXT. Like although the contract signing wasn't a match, we got 5 segments, like 5 segments per show. So that's cool. But the final match, it was main event Jey Uso main event against Herr Gunther. And like, yeah, no damn well, Jey Uso wasn't winning this shit. Like people at like friends of mine, I was talking about wrestling people at my job. They were just like, "Oh, Jey Uso." I'm like, Jey Uso is not winning the World Heavyweight Championship from Gunther on a random Saturday night's main event 1 week before the Royal Rumble. No, it's not gonna happen. But the reason why the match took place because Cody wasn't wrestling for his belt because Cody wrestled the last time, so it's Gunther's turn to main event and to wrestle, and Gunther's the champion, and he needs to have like a credible match because Gunther hasn't really done much lately because the thing is, people just like, oh, his Intercontinental title reign, blah blah blah. That's because he was defending it more when he was the Intercontinental champion, because he was the IC champion and he was fighting challenge. He was main eventing Monday Night Raw, fighting challengers every single week. It's different when you're the World Heavyweight Champion. You don't fight as much when you're the World Heavyweight Champion. So it kind of looks like he's not really doing anything. But beating main event Jey Uso would give him a big win. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I ain't gonna lie. There was a moment where the crowd got into the match. He hit the spear and the kick and the splash and he hooked the leg. The fans bought it. Like, there was a moment where the fans bought it. They legitimately thought he was gonna win. I knew better. And as soon as Gunther kicked out and popped up, he power bombed him twice. That was a wrap. And as Big Jim likes to say, when it comes to Jey Uso becoming World Heavyweight Champion, no heat. So that was how Saturday night's main event ended, with Jey Uso picking his self-esteem up off the floor. Gunther reigns supreme. That was how Saturday night's main event concluded. And thank you for tuning in. So, I mean, if we can call it that, it was basically a filler show, but it still had a lot of good matches. Like, it pushed along stories, like it put highlights on people who currently really weren't doing much. Like I said, like, Braun Breaker wasn't really doing anything. Gunther wasn't really doing anything. Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman, they weren't really doing anything. Rhea Ripley's involved in some stuff, but she doesn't have like a legit, challenger that we can like legitimately see coming. So doing this, it gives these people something to do, to be like, hey, just because we don't have anything for you right now that's important, you're not just going to sit here and do nothing either. Like, you could still defend the belt. So, but I thought it was cool. Like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was dope. And share your questions, comments, and concerns down below, and let's continue to talk about it as we head for the Royal Rumble. So check me out all over social media. Check me out on X. Check me out on TikTok. Check me out on Instagram and YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and concerns. For my DC and Marvel television TV reviews, you can also check me out on Clubhouse, where I do the audio versions of those reviews. I said, let's keep rolling on and rolling. And when next week comes for the Royal Rumble, we're going to check that out. We're going to review that too. So stay locked for Red Eyes Entertainment for some more wrestling action. So that was it, everybody. So till next week, when we review the Royal Rumble, take care. Don't end up like main event Jey Uso, because there's no heat. And we're out this.